Greetings to all my brothers of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated and to my birth home in Omega, the Mighty YE, Upsilon Epsilon chapter, chartered March 25th, 1949, on the campus of Jackson State University to enrich the cultural aspects of college life. The Mighty YE continues to be a beacon of light in the fraternity, the community, and campus at large. My brothers, the purpose of tonight is to gain some historical insight into Upsilon Epsilon from our birth through the eyes of a legend. We want to welcome you to a virtual discussion with a true pioneer of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated and a charter member of Upsilon Epsilon chapter, Dr. John A. Peoples, President Emeritus of the Jackson State University. My name is Reginald Harris, and I was initiated into the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated through the auspices of Upsilon Epsilon chapter in the fall of 1991. I served as Basileus of Upsilon Epsilon chapter from 1991 to 1992. I also served as Basileus of Thunder and Tar chapter in Atlanta, Georgia, winning 3 times Omega Man of the Year and serving as District Marshal, Regional and District MSP Chairman, International Co-Membership Chair, and I am served as first vice district representative, and currently I am your 24th 7th district representative. There have been only 4 men in our rich history of Upsilon Epsilon that have had the distinct honor of serving as DRs. 2 of us, myself and Brother William Bradsfield, who is deceased, having served as DRs for the Mighty 7th District. I have the privilege tonight of sharing this platform with the other 2. Prior to introducing the guest of honor, I'd like to allow them to introduce themselves, starting with the most senior in Brother Lee Arthur Bernard.
Thank you, Brother DR, and to everyone else on the call. Again, my name is Lee Bernard. I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, and I attended Lanier High School. And I attended Jackson State from 1968 to 1972. And I pledged Upsilon Epsilon chapter in fall of 1969. And while at Jackson State, I was in the 13 college curriculum program. So I thank Dr. Peoples and the school for allowing me to come to Jackson State for free. In my corporate travels, I ended up in the 2nd district, where I became the 27th district representative, which covers the states of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Maryland. And so it's just good to be here tonight. Thank you.
And my name
Thank you, Brother Burton.
Yeah. Okay, my name
Go
is
ahead,
Larry
Brother Burks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Larry Burks, Sr. I'm also from Jackson, Mississippi. Attended Brinkley High School when it was when we had integrated separate schools, and then I moved over to Callaway High School and eventually graduated from there. So I matriculated at Jackson State University from 1972, excuse me, to 1976. In addition to pledging the fraternity in the spring of 1974, I was also involved in student government at Jackson State. In my senior year, I was also the vice president of the student body at our university. So I had a chance to interface with a lot of the social things that happen on the university's campus. And I saw Dr. Peoples quite a lot during my tenure there. I also got a commission in the United States Army as a 2nd lieutenant. I was a product of the Army ROTC program there at Jackson State. I stayed in the Army 20 years and retired at the rank of lieutenant colonel. And and I moved to Wichita, Kansas. That's where I am currently right now. So I became the DR for the 8th district from 2003 to 2006. And of course, it's been the Mega Man of the Year for the district, 2 occasions. I have also been chapter bosses of my chapter there in Wichita, Kansas, which is Gamma Upsilon. And of course, now I'm in a posture as a former DR on the executive council for the 8th district. And the 8th district consists of 8 states, Nebraska, Colorado, Missouri, Kansas, New Mexico, North and South Dakota, in Iowa. So I am privileged to be here. And Dr. Peoples, I just want to let you know, whenever we talk about Jackson State University, I know a lot of people, have attended the university at various times, but I will always say that you are my president at Jackson State because of the way you were with us there, and I loved you. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to each of you, the esteemed DRs, for joining us tonight. And now on to our guest of honor, Dr. Peoples. I have the distinct honor also of introducing Dr. Peoples. Brother Dr. John A. Peoples is a native of Starkville, Mississippi. After graduating high school, he was drafted into the United States Marine Corps, where he served 2.5 years, attaining the rank of sergeant. He served as a drill instructor during World War II. After discharge, he entered Jackson State College, now known as University, in September 1947 and earned a bachelor's degree in mathematics. Also, while attending, he was on the varsity football and track teams, along with being elected president of Student Government Association for 2 consecutive years. Dr. Peoples graduated as valedictorian of his class in 1950 and matriculated to the University of Chicago, where he earned a Master's of Arts and Doctor of Philosophy degrees. He served 13 years in the public school system in Gary, Indiana, as a teacher and school principal. His next assignment brought him back to our alma mater, where he served as a professor of mathematics and became vice president in 1964. He was selected as the 6th president of Jackson State University in 1967, where he served for 17 years until 1984. His tenure marked dramatic growth in enrollment that was unmatched by any in our history. The enrollment grew from 2,200 to approximately 7,800, and the academic program from a baccalaureate level teachers education college to a 5-school professional program and a doctoral level program. The Peoples administration spanned the years of the Black Student Revolution and the landmark Ayers versus Waller desegregation suit. Dr. Peoples has been and continues to be at the forefront of activism as well as the community and civic affairs. He has served as commissioner of the Jackson Airport Authority, on the board of directors of the Jackson Zoological Park and Goodwill Industries, along with 20+ years for Piney Woods County Country Life School and Smith Robertson Museum and Cultural Center. Along with serving on multiple other boards, he is a proud member of Sigma Pi Phi Boule and 33rd degree Mason, and a life member of the NAACP. Renowned leader, published author, and president emeritus. Please welcome Brother Dr. John A. Peoples. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Peoples.
It's my pleasure. What do you guys want me to do? Will I be prompted, or do I just talk, or what?
Well, we just wanted to have a candid conversation with you, and I guess I'll kick that conversation off for us tonight. So we want you to take us back to the beginning of the chartering for Upsilon Epsilon chapter. I understand that yourself and Brother Lawrence Jones, 2 chartering members, were initiated at Tougaloo College in 1948. Tell us how it all started.
Well, Dean H.T. Sampson, after whom the library is named, encouraged me to think about Omega. But the football coach, Mr. T.B. Ellis, wanted me to go Kappa. But however, I was much influenced by Dean Sampson because he taught mathematics as well as the dean, and so I was influenced by him. However, Jackson State was not accredited at that time, and Tougaloo was. So he got permission, Dean Sampson got permission from the national office to have me initiated into Rho Epsilon at Tougaloo. And then from that point, I started the chapter at Jackson State. As a matter of fact, that There are only two of us charter members are alive, myself and Norman Rhymes, who is right now in a nursing home. But from that point, we had a chapter starting off with mostly guys with very high averages, academic averages, where we started off. And we also took over the campus in leadership. I served as student body president for 2 years, and I was in everything, BMOC. I actually was a top student. I made straight A's all the way. And from there, I was recommended by President Reddix to, well, first of all, I got my master's degree at U of Chicago. I would say that U of Chicago really struck me because I thought I was smart, but everybody there was smart. And so I remember in a math class, a teacher who had a German accent. He was German by where he came from, but I could hardly understand him. I said, "Excuse me, sir, would you please repeat that?" And he looked at me, he said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Oh, Mississippi." "Oh my God, Mississippi. You Mississippi guys never know anything." He said, "What book did you use in the calculus?" I said, "Granville, Loggery, and Smith." He said, "Take it, burn it up, because you ever saw it. Start all over again." But I was kind of adopted by some Jewish kids who in the dormitory. Believe me, those Jewish kids, they study all the time, and they Sister Curry. And so I was kind of rescued in that sense by these Jewish friends of mine, and I began to do well in mathematics. But going back to Jackson State, though, I think I just mentioned to you about Rho Epsilon Tougaloo, and I believe you mentioned Lawrence Jones. So when I came back to Jackson State as president, things were still going strong. I could not be partial with the fraternities because I was the president, but I was very much concerned that the chapter maintained its reputation as getting very high caliber of people. Now, you guys want to prompt me because I'll get on something you wanted me to say.
Not indeed. Indeed, we can do that. Dr. Peoples, one thing that I wanted you to tell us a little bit about is just in inception, in choosing that charter line, how did you go about doing that on campus?
Repeat that one more time.
With respect to the charter line for Upsilon Epsilon, I know you mentioned that you were initiated at Tougaloo and then had the ability to come back and actually charter the line there at Upsilon Epsilon. How did you all go about choosing those members that were going to be on the charter line?
Well, the fact of the matter was, I guess since I was straight A, I got some of the high caliber kids, and they'd have to be straight A, but they couldn't be less than B. And so we would have them. One thing I didn't believe in peddling people. I believed in making them do things like learn about some of the history of making African Americans. I made them recite Shakespeare. One thing I had the guys who were on the line to do was to write my sweetheart, who was not my wife, letters telling them how lucky she was to have such a fine guy as her boyfriend. But I did not believe in peddling. As a matter of fact, when I was made at Tougaloo, Dean Sampson told them that I was a football player and you didn't want to injure me, so I couldn't play football. So what they did was to, since we were all blindfolded, just told me to holler while they were and yell while they were beating on a pillow. So,
Dr. Peoples,
yeah,
I know you have been, of course, at our university since the inception of this great chapter. Can you provide some insight into the overall climate of the university at that time?
well, when I came to Jackson State, first out of the Marine Corps, I was 21 years old. And what happened, my principal in Starkville had sent a transcript to Dean Sampson, who was the dean of the faculty, with all A's. And he had me to bring it in person. And Dean Sampson said that he couldn't accept that in my bringing it and so on. So I was about to transfer this, go to Tougaloo, but he called my principal, and the principal said, those grades are correct. He is a pretty smart kid. So I stayed at Jackson State. And of course, I was like Mr. Everything at Jackson State. I was making straight A's. I'm a good football player. Not compared to the guys now, they probably better than I ever would be. And I was on the track team and YMCA and went to national meetings to represent Jackson State and so on. So I really had a ball at Jackson State. I recall that President Riddick, so after we played Dillard, who at that time, when Jackson State was was not that good, they had beat the heck out of us the year before. But down there, I made the first 2 touchdowns, and they didn't have a wide receiver then. They had split end, a tight end, split tight or split. But I made 2 first touchdowns. And next week, President Riddick saw me on the campus. He said, and they stopped me. He said, young man, I knew you were a good student, but I never knew you could play football that well. He said, one day I think a young man like you could be president. I never thought of it. Never thought I'd be president. I wasn't thinking about that line. I wanted to be a mathematics teacher. And that's what it turned out in Gary, Indiana. I was a mathematics teacher at Frayville High School. As a matter of fact, I was the first African-American to work high school at other than the black school. Roosevelt was all black. Frayville was a school that had been all white. But when they hired me, they said, young man, if you do well, we'll hire some more blacks at this school. So I was like a guinea pig at Frayville.
Again, when we talk about the student climate there, what was everyone's basic?
At Jackson State.
Yeah, Jackson State. Yeah. What did they do? Was there a lot of student activism there, or were there any issues that involved student participation that they had to be a part of, or was it just nothing really of substance?
Well, when I went to Jackson State, it was I would have to say as a student, it was really like a third-rate teacher's college. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty easy for me to be straight A's. I had been in the Marine Corps and had
right.
one of their best schools to be a radio technician. So I knew how to use all kinds of instruments in chemistry and physics and so on. And I knew stuff those guys never heard of. Not even the teachers had heard of the stuff I knew. As a matter of fact, I had planned to go to MIT or Caltech. Only thing was I couldn't prove I knew that stuff because the Marine Corps didn't give me any transcripts. But I knew a lot of stuff when I got to Jackson State. But the atmosphere at Jackson State, when I was a student, it was a developing black school. The name of the school was Jackson College for Negro Teachers. And the state didn't do much to support Jackson State, to tell the truth. But it moved on. By the time I went to Gary, when I came back, I set about moving that school ahead. As a matter of fact, this IHL College Board opposed what I was doing. At first, they didn't pay much attention to it. But then when they saw that I was trying to get the stuff that the white folk had, they would say, I mean, Dr. Peoples, what do you want? What these two ambitions for Jackson State? I said to myself, what y'all got, white folk? I said that to myself. I was aiming for stuff. When I started to enrich the curriculum for people who want to be doctors or lawyers, it was rough because the pre-med kids, we didn't have anybody who knew how to teach physics or chemistry at Jackson State when I was a student. But when I got there, I began to bring in some very high class and strong teachers, and began to also hire white teachers, because in those days, the IHL board did not really allow, so to speak, the black institutions to hire whites. So I began to, there was a nunnery way up somewhere, I forgot where it was now, but there were some nuns who wanted to work in black schools down south, and they had PhDs in chemistry, physics, English, and so on. It was very hard to find blacks in those days who had PhDs in other education. But these women had PhDs in chemistry, physics, biology, and most of blacks along those days were in education, mainly because the black schools did not have strong curriculum in those areas. But I began to build Jackson State from a third-rate teacher's college to a strong university, which it is now. But it wasn't easy because the College Board, IHL, did not want that from Jackson State, Alcorn, Valley. They wanted them to just remain teachers' college, like Alcorn was A&M, where they put out mostly teachers, and Valley was really didn't have any, as much as the junior colleges did. But my aim was to make Jackson State a university, a full university. And I did that with the opposition of the College Board. I mean, they didn't do anything at all hard to help. Help me again.
All right, thank you, Brother DR. Dr. Peoples, again, I mentioned that I attended Jackson State all 4 years for free through the 13 college curriculum program. Yeah. And I understand that you started this program, and would you explain the rationale for implementing the 13 college curriculum program?
Well, first of all, I didn't start it.
You didn't start it, okay.
No. In Washington, D.C., there was money put aside. What do they call that? There was money being set aside for black institutions, and so the guy who was pushing this, black guy, he said there's some money going to be set aside, and we got to try to get it. And so only 13 of us college presidents paid any attention to him. So we had a meeting. He said, we got to find a way to corner this stuff, because some of the black college, smaller white colleges is trying to get this money. But this money was setting aside for, I forget what they called it. But since only 13 of us stayed and worked on this thing to try to corner the market, it was called the 13 Colleges Curriculum Program. And I don't know if it's there now, but it was a tremendous thing because it provided a full ride.
Yes, sir.
Room, board, and tuition. And might have been a stipend in that too, but
it was.
Yeah, a stipend. And so the kids who got into that really had a full ride. And some of you guys got out to be very strong students and citizens. But the 13 came because only 13 of us black college presidents stayed and listened to this guy saying, we got to corner this money, man, because some of the smaller white schools are trying to get it. And so only 13 of us stayed and talked with him to plan how we can corner this market. And so we had to set up where the teachers, we send the teachers off someplace up north for a summer session to train as to how we can best take these kids who came from poor circumstances and strong students. And we kept that going. But that's how that 13 came. Only 13 of us paid this guy any attention and stayed there and talked about how can we corner this market, this money.
Okay, well, I thank you for that free education.
Indeed. So, Dr. Peoples, serving as the 6th president of Jackson State University from 1967 through 1984, tell us a little bit about your tenure as president, kind of specifically when you came in, your goals for the university.
Okay, well, President Reddix and I, as I mentioned earlier, he first noticed me after we played football against Dillard, and I made touchdown with long passes and so on. And then he began to notice me, and he even recommended me to teach in Gary Anno mathematics. But he pursued me and called me on the phone. And he said, I hope you'll think about coming back to Mississippi. And when I got my PhD at U of Chicago, he demanded, you got to come back. But he wanted to make me Dean of Students. And Dean of Students meant that in those days, the governor wanted to, well, I was the governor, and IHL wanted to keep these black kids quiet, to keep them from demonstrating and so on like that. And I knew that I didn't want that kind of a job, because I felt in some ways like the students that the racism that was being carried on by the state, which is horrible. I remember when I finally became president, Governor John Bell Williams wanted to speak to the 3 black presidents. And so he had us down to the mansion, had us sitting down. And he said, I want y'all to stop y'all's people from all this marching and protesting. It's just, he said, I can handle these other Peckerwood, but I want y'all to handle y'all people.
Okay.
The guys kind of, President Boyd and the other guys up at Valley, he just put the bow. I said, excuse me, Governor. I said, I plan to allow the Jackson State students to protest on the campus. Off the campus, that's your job. But I plan to allow them to protest, even against me. I will not let them destroy property, but I will allow them to protest. He said, Dr. Peoples, I appreciate your frankness. I just appreciate your frankness. You know what? I want your band to play in my inauguration. He said, surely enough, for his inauguration, the Jackson State Band, for the first time, marched down Chapel Street by the mansion. And we had set up for Pop Davis when he passed by the governor's mansion and by the stand where the governor was, to play Born Free. So we went by Born Free. You guys know that song. And so that made the newspaper that Jackson State's band passed by Governor John Bell Williams' mansion playing Born Free. And that was played up. So speaking about the atmosphere we had, of course, you know about the killings in 1970. Lynch Street was a through street thoroughfare running through Jackson State. And the white neighborhood began, I don't know what street that is down there, but the white neighborhood, the white would pass by and sometimes call the kids niggers. And so whatever they did, the students came out and started throwing rocks and bottles at any white people passing by. So starting in 1967, we had a situation like that in which white people passing by, rocks and bottles were thrown at them. And then in 68, when Martin Luther King was killed, the kids got mad, got in the street and started throwing rocks and bottles at white people. And then in 1970, it seemed that we were putting a new sewage line. That's what it was. The women's dormitory backing up because it had very small 6-inch sewage lines. Excuse me. So the mayor of the city said that I just kept it quiet. He would include Jackson State in the bond issue and put larger sewage lines down Lynch Street to stop the toilets from backing up in the women's dormitory. So there were some trucks parked in the street there. They were working on that. And when that, I'm trying to remember what caused that to start, but when I knew anything, some girls came up and said, Dr. Peoples, the boys throwing rocks and stones at white people again. So when I went down there, boy, they were mad. They even threw rocks at our security, broke the windows of the security police car. And so I got the street closed on each end of the campus to try to stop it. But what happened, it kept on going anyway. And when the cops came down to so-called stop the kids, they marched back up the street and got to the women's dormitory. And there were the boys who had walked the girls to the dormitory. They told them to get inside, get inside. Well, the boys didn't live over there. They had to come back across the street or go down. And so somebody threw a bottle out of the street, and then the cops started shooting. They were shooting all in a women's dormitory. And the boys who were over there to take the girls home, one was Philip Gibbs. He was killed. And that, anyway, the high school kid was on the other side of the street. He got killed. His name was Green. But that was a terrible night because when I started to go out there, the National Guard was at my door, at the door of the president's home, the old president's home. Wouldn't let me out. They said, well, we were sent to guard you. You don't need to guard me, but we can't let you out. Then all of a sudden, about 15 or 20 boys jumped the fence of the president's home and came to the Dr. Peoples. Why did you let them shoot at us? So I didn't know what to say. But one boy said, Dr. Peoples, he's black like us. If he'd have been there, they'd have shot him. And so then I decided I was going to go anyway. And so I left my wife scared. She was crying. But the boys, a whole crew of boys, got around me and said, we're going to guard you, Dr. Peoples. So they took me out there. And boy, you could smell the gunpowder. And I got there. I didn't know what to do. But I heard somebody saying Martin Luther King's peroration, I have a dream. I said, oh, this is a dream. I'm dreaming because Martin Luther King is dead. and then I looked over, there was a boy standing on some kind of a stand reciting Martin Luther King's peroration, I have a dream. And I went over, I said, who is that? That's Jughead. And anyway, I went over, I said, Mr. Jughead. I said, would you help me get these kids quiet? So he passed me the bullhorn. I got up there and I began to talk about the kids getting back inside. Kids said, we ain't going back in, Dr. P. We ain't going back in. No. They shot us when we were inside. And so Jughead said, And he's okay. Here's what we're gonna do. Well, I want all you sisters to come out of that dormitory and bring blankets. We're gonna stay up all night and protest. And bring Dr. Peoples a blanket too. He hadn't even asked me, and bring Dr. Peoples a blanket. So they it turned out that two young ladies brought a blanket. And I said between, I don't remember their names, but anyway, we began to sing, "We Shall Overcome," and so on like that. But I said, wait a minute now, somebody got shot. I got to go check on that. I said, would you excuse me? I got to go see what happened. So I called the police station and found out that there was one person killed and several girls who was wounded, and another boy, a high school boy, had been killed. And I came back and I told him, when I told him about Gibbs, goes, oh Lord, that's my brother. And so I had to go to the president's home, and my wife called her parents. Really, her sister, her mother was dead. But that was some nights. So if you read my book, I go into a lot of detail about what really happened. But that was the night that we'll never forget. Probably on something else.
Indeed, Brother Bernard.
Yes, Dr. Peoples, those were exciting times. And you really made a impression upon the city of Jackson and on Jackson State. Now, during your tenure and your legacy, how do you see your legacy after going through all you went through at Jackson State, the shooting, the increase in students to what it was when you left Jackson State?
Well, one thing that helped, I always had the students with me.
Okay.
I wasn't afraid to go out and say, what do you guys want? You put it out there, protest. I go, well, I wasn't afraid. The kids had big afros,
Yeah.
and so I had a little afro myself. Wasn't that big, but I could walk among them. I wasn't afraid of kids, and let's talk about what we want. I said, no, guys, we can't do that, but we can do this. Let's talk about what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I had the kids' support. I know once when I brought ROTC to campus, and actually there was some kids who were against it. Well, I talked and invited all the freshmen to come. Let's talk about this thing. You guys are being drafted to go to Vietnam. And if you're going to be drafted, why not be officers? Because you're going to be there anyway.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I had brought ROCT to the campus about a year or so before. But my point being is that, in almost every case, I had the students supporting me. And when I brought ROTC to Jackson State, I talked with the frats, and we decided that we were going to bring ROTC to Jackson State. And if you're going to be drafted, why not be an officer? And so I think we have out there now about 3 or 4 generals now in that early case. But that's one thing I did that I'm very proud of. Any more things you want to ask me about? I was always, with the IHL thought I was controversial because I was always asking for something new. It wasn't so more new. The white people had it already. So it's new to Jackson State, but it wasn't new to the system. And so I got to be controversial because I was too ambitious for Jackson State.
Well, thank you for being you, Dr. Peoples. We really appreciate you.
We do
Thank
have
you.
another question for you, Dr. Peoples.
Okay.
Again, first thing, I want to thank you for what you did for ROTC, because that was a program that I participated in and helped me finance my way through college, and it became my career. So I appreciate all that you did for that, because it made it possible for me to be a part of that program. Now, we know you're a man of many talents. In one of those talents basically being you are an author. Now, I know that you wrote this book, To Survive and Thrive, The Quest for a True University. And I'm sure that there may be some others that you may have penned. But for that book in particular, what was your motivation or your inspiration to write that book? And tell us about maybe some of the other books you may have written already as well.
Well, I kind of wanted to tell my story. It was like a catharsis because of the way I left Jackson State was not the way I wanted to leave. But we had the Ayers case there. You know, the Ayers case was a suit to the against the state. And in the Ayers case, the college board wanted me to testify in court against Jackson State. And of course, I wouldn't do that. I said, sir, I'm going to tell what I think should be the case. You don't have to prove it. But actually, I found myself fighting for Jackson State, and I became controversial in their eyes because I stood up for what I thought was for Jackson State. They didn't want Jackson State to be anything more than a third-rate teachers' college. I'm not against teachers' college as a part of the school, but we needed to move into some of the other areas, and which we did, but it was not an easy thing. I mean, they actually just about demanded that I not present stuff, and they want Jackson State to even move off the campus. They wouldn't want us to have anything downtown or away. They wanted to keep us confined. Sorry to say that our two sister black institutions were against us too, mainly because we sprung up from being a teacher's college to a university, leaving Alcorn and Valley behind. Alcorn was I think, the first black land grant college, and they should have been just terrific. You know, had all that land down there, but they were not even getting any land grant money. Mississippi State got it. So I became controversial because I pushed to make Jackson State a university as it is now. But many people don't really know what I went through. I mean, when that board became disaffected with me, it was mainly because in the Ayers case, I wouldn't do that bidding. They wanted me to testify against Jackson State and not to be asking for all that stuff. I said, sir, you can disapprove it, but I'm going to recommend it. So that became their theme. You're too ambitious for Jackson State. And in the end, I mean, they found a way to get rid of me, but that's okay. The school kept on going.
Sir, I tell you what, I really appreciate your determination in that regard. I appreciate your stepping out there doing all those things for us, because believe it or not, you did have our support, and we really appreciated the outcome of what your efforts were making us a university, and that comes with a level of pride as well. And like I said, I am very proud to say wherever I am that I came from Jackson State University, and we're proud of the legacy and heritage that we have there, and a lot of it your efforts. So thank you very much for all you've done for us.
Brother Bernard is showing your book. He has your book there and it reading. I don't think I could have said it any better than D.R. Burke stated. I just want to say on behalf of this consortium of DRs that were initiated at the Mighty YE, we want to thank you for so much that you've done, all that you continue to do for Upsilon Epsilon chapter, for Jackson State University, for the city of Jackson, and humanity as a whole. So we know that you continue to just be a beacon for our chapter, for the university, for everyone. And we just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to having had this discussion with you. We hope that you continue to be blessed and be a blessing to all around you. we don't have any more questions. However, if you would like to leave us with any parting words, feel free to do so now.
But what I say from time to time, that I envy you guys who came through Jackson State getting all the stuff I wish I could have gotten. I mean, I was a mathematics major, but we didn't have a lot of mathematics because the dean of the college, Dean Sampson, taught the higher math. And so far as chemistry, we had very, very poor chemistry teachers. Physics, we had none. And so I just envy you guys who were able to come through Jackson State getting all the stuff I wish I could have gotten. But I mean, I don't have any regrets because it just made me more determined to get what I wanted to get or needed to get. And I want to say to you guys here tonight, I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to talk to you. And I'm so proud of all you and how much you're doing. And thanks very much for giving me this chance to talk to you. I don't hear the.
Well, we thank you. We thank you. We love you. We appreciate you. If there is anything that you need for us to do with respect to your continued service, don't hesitate to call upon us. Again, on behalf of the chapter, we thank you so much. God bless you. God bless this organization. And God bless the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.